So me and my fiance decided to try the new Magicpunk MMO action RPG that's actually about to launch very soon, Crystal of Atlan. I saw this and I immediately kind of was like, this looks somewhat kind of neat. It's sort of a mobile game, sort of not. But honestly, we figured we'd give it a try, and we may have just actually found a really great MMOARPG to play. It actually has pretty insane combat, dungeons, and tons of modes that you can play with your friends. Again, we've been playing together nonstop, and honestly, an insane amount of content in the game. Systems like crafting, collecting, upgrading pets, real trading, and some of the stuff is actually kind of insane, and we've been having a blast. Crystal of Atlan is developed by Newverse, and they sent us over information to play Crystal of Atlan early for us to give our honest review. Me and my fiance played all the way up to level 50, and again, it was super fun for us to both play and level together. I'm going to go over a lot of things that the game offers and then give you my brutally honest opinion at the end. The first thing I thought that was actually really cool about the game is we had to choose our characters. In Crystal of Atlan, there are 11 classes available, and they all have their own unique combos, gear, specialties, and skills, things like that. So we started looking through them. First, primarily, we have the Musketeer, who's focused on ranged combat, where you can choose either the Gunner or Bounty Hunter specialty, the Swordsman, who has Magiblade and Berserker, who's more of an up-close and personal fighter, the Magister, who has the Elementalist and Warlock, these are more of your spell-type builds, and then the Puppeteer with the Scythe Guard and the Blood Maiden, which is actually what I went with. And I have to say the Scythe Guard is actually really fun to play. There will also be a brand new fighter class and a brand new magician class introduced on the full launch of the game. Since I selected a Scythe Guard, my fiance actually selected the Bounty Hunter, so she was playing sort of a ranged combat kind of build, and we were basically ready to go. We began at stage 1 and noticed there was actually a large amount of content initially with the story, but there were actually elite versions of the story. So if you beat one level, you could play the elite version. And again, as we started playing, we got through a couple story missions and then started speccing into our skills. Now again, I told you there's a ton of skills that are actually in the game per each class, per each branch of each class as well. So for instance, the Scythe Guard has a ton of skills like you can see here. Some are more AoE focused skills, so you can take out a bunch of enemies at once. Others are big hitters like our ultimate. Our ultimate basically slams down and deals tens of thousands of damage all around us. So when we were jumping into boss fights, that was extremely helpful. And again, you get tons and tons of skill points. You can spec in to each one of these skills a ton over time. Not only that, you have a set of backup skills. So essentially when you use your first 4 or 5 initial skills, your backup skills that you have spec'd into go into your backup slots, meaning when the first skill is on cooldown, the second skill is able to be casted, so you can non-stop pretty much spam skills and chain them into a massive amount of specific combos. For instance, I can use my AoE clear on all the enemies around us, and then use my other high damage skills to chain into combos for enemies that are left. And this basically means you can hit up to like 100 or 200 hit combos on some enemies and bosses, on top of hitting aerial combos, which I'll show you in a minute. But again, any basic skill you take, you can chain into insane amounts of different combos, and they all kind of look different. As I progressed and started noticing the insane combos that I can start doing, started crafting my actual build. Now there's actually a ton of build variety in this game with 8 classes, especially since you can spec out your skills differently since there are just so many. Not only that, your equipment style also plays a lot into your build, so where you should focus specific stat types and upgrade your gear with things like insignias. There's a ton of upgrading and crafting in Crystal of Atlan. Sometimes there's so much that you can do, it's actually hard to wrap your head around, but it gives you a lot to explore and learn, and things like insignias can actually be put in your weapons and armor to make them extra powerful, and you can unlock these just through regularly playing. Now, as you level and get more powerful gear, you also have tons of customization, again, for the gear itself. You can buy or trade gear from people, so you can sell your gear and make money to buy new gear, or you can craft your own unique gear sets with specific legendary materials that you unlock later through different boss fights, dungeons, things like that, and compete in some of the PvE or PvP rankings with a lot of the game modes that they have towards the end game. You can add additional powers and modifiers to your gear, and your power overall is identified by your power level. And you can see that on people that have ranked in the PvE and PvP rankings list. That way you can get an idea of really how powerful you're becoming compared to other people that are playing the game. When I really started getting into the grind, moving through the story, I unlocked my first pet, and then I unlocked a second pet. So you can essentially collect these pets that you're unlocking, and not only can you upgrade them and level them up with you, but each also has custom movesets that again play directly with your builds. So where some pets have tons of high damage combat abilities, others have direct healing abilities that can heal you or your entire squad. So depending on how you're moving and if you're running with a squad, you want to play certain pets because they all have a unique moveset. There are a ton of pets in the game that I haven't even unlocked, And getting up to level 50, I haven't even broken into a lot of the endgame content yet. But as you level up, you unlock the ability to play with guilds known as fleets, and you can join a guild and contribute to weekly missions, dungeons, and a bunch of hard in-game boss content that honestly we found pretty challenging. And it can actually earn you some of the best loot and gear in the game, which again means if you do hard content, you 100% get extremely rewarded from it, which is always a great feeling. Nobody wants to do something and then get absolutely nothing from it. So some of the fights require a large group of players, similarly to doing a coordinated raid, everybody running classes that all make sense and work together. And guilds offer tons of unique gameplay on top of everything else that's already in the game. Again, there's so many different game modes and content in this game. And again, this rewards you with having friends in the game, meaning extra guild specific content and group content really gives you some of the best gear in the game, which makes playing with friends that much better. You can also customize your appearance. There's a Transmog system, which is one of the main things we all want out of any game, to be honest. We love that a game's fun, but we want to look cool while we're playing it. I think it just makes it a little bit more immersive. Each class appearance is different, and there are a ton of outfits and customization options available, and a large amount of which you can actually just unlock from playing the game itself, meaning you can get access to a lot of that stuff by just playing the end-game content. And like we mentioned, Crystal of Atlan has a ton, and I mean a ton of content, but even more than that, tons of game modes you can choose from. Obviously, the story and elite story missions, co-op dungeons that are harder 4-player dungeons, GVE, which is actually an 8-player dungeon that actually has multi-phase battles for your legendary gear crafting, and Fleet Mine War, which is a 20v20 PvP mode with some PvE elements that are actually cross-server battles. Winning can get you huge buffs, and honestly, just the mass chaos makes it a fun mode to play, and unique modes like that I think are always some of the best. Straight PvP competition, you can do that, and it actually has a leaderboard ranking, and depending on if you're good enough, you can actually get some pretty awesome rewards from doing that if you're able to rank. And trust me, all the stuff in this game gives you enough content for like an entire lifetime. Again, I played this with my fiance. The aerial combat, again, you can jump in the air and just combo enemies up in the air and just, again, do 100, 200 hit combos before you even hit the ground. If you chain stuff correctly, this game gives you some of the best aerial combat, just point blank period. So now my brutally honest opinion on whether or not you should play Crystal of Atlan in 2025 when it releases. Is it worth it or is it not worth it? Also, in terms of content, there is a absolute ton of content in Crystal of Atlan. So much so that, again, you're going to be overwhelmed because you won't be able to finish it all. And I kid you not, between the regular story, the elite story missions, the different game modes, all the different dungeons, all the different team dungeons, team bosses, there's a lot to do. And I guarantee you, you'll probably never run out. They get a big plus in terms of the content that they have at release, because again, it's a lot. One thing is, when you actually do these dungeons and boss fights, etc., you use daily energy. This is similar to most mobile games where you're going to run out of energy at some point if you continue to play nonstop. The cool thing is there is a way around this through different items you can earn in game that actually replenish a lot of your energy while you're playing, meaning you can get access to more energy later and a solid amount of hours every single day playing without ever having to go the route of microtransactions. So where energy can be limited, you also can eventually get a ton of it as you level up to hopefully sustain you playing every single day. Now, in terms of the combat is actually one of the things that I actually really like about Crystal of Atlan, just because there are so many different skills and abilities, and it may seem like some of these combos and things do kind of the same thing, but all of them are very different, and all of them rely on very different weapon types, stats, give different abilities and buffs to your character depending on your character type. Again, the aerial combat itself is great, and the overall combat style of switching between AoE and single target damage skills with the amount of different skills we can get just gives you a lot of different class and build variety, especially when you start throwing in different gear types and how different gear types work with different types of skills. There's just a ton of build variety in any of the classes that you decide to make. One of the cool things about Crystal of Atlan is it hasn't completely launched yet, but you should go ahead and pre-register for it below. And if you sign up, you get some exclusive rewards you'll never be able to get again and unlock the early access. There's a ton of people that have already been playing the tests and actually legitimately love this game. Rewards for each milestone will unlock progressively, and once they reach a certain amount of pre-registration players, you can claim all your unlocked pre-registration rewards by linking your UID on the pre-registration page. So there's also an event going on, the Magicpunk Summon event. By pre-registering, inviting friends, and following the official SNS account, players can collect summon tickets for a chance to win prizes like the iPhone 16 Pro Max, Apple Watch Ultra, AirPods Max, and PlayStation 5 Pro, and a ton of other actually really cool prizes. And given Crystal of Atlan is both fun and in its early stages before launch with a bunch of different rewards you can get just by pre-registering, make sure you do that now. Crystal of Atlan is going to be available on Google Play, the Apple Store, PlayStation, and PC, and they already have a ton of players signed up. Make sure you check out and pre-register again for Crystal of Atlan in the description below so you don't miss out now, because once this game launches fully, trust me, it's going to be insane. Crystal Atlan will be globally released on May 28th, and again, make sure you pre-register for those bonuses that you'll never see again.